Hey everybody, it's Mandy Gatlin, and I'm just going to give everyone a minute to sign on. I'm just going to also check the sound, make sure that we have sound. And if you're joining me on the YouTube page, go ahead and go over to the my main web page, because there's a chat box there. That's the only chat box that I check for questions. And feel free to ask your questions there. And that website address is www.amanda-gatlin.com/energy-for-empath. And you can go to that web page and plug your questions in. If you think you might be an empath, if you think you, if the energy affects you greatly, if you have questions about how the energy affects you, feel free to ask anything that you need to ask. And if you aren't joining us for the live event and you join us later on and you're watching, then just go ahead and send me an email and ask your question. My email address is discoveryourenergy@yahoo.com. So you can send your questions over there as well. All right. Okay, so I'm just going to give you guys maybe another minute or two to hop on, see if anybody joins, if anybody wants to come on board and join in. And this is kind of a fun topic, actually. I've been doing a lot of topics more related to the body, and this one's a fun one because this is a more spiritual, metaphysical type topic, and it's one that I think a lot of people experience, especially with anxiety, and they just don't realize that they're empathic. And then once they find this out, it's like this missing puzzle piece that finally clicks into place, and then they're like, oh, I know that, you know, my whole life, I mean, I've been an empath, but I've only known that for maybe the last 9 years of my life. And when I did find that out, I was like, what is that? What does that even mean? I have no clue what that means. But everything that we were being taught about what an empath is, I was like, yep, checking off the list. And sure enough, when I started putting tools into place, that, you know, if you are an empath, there are tools that you can put into place. Once you start putting those tools into place, it makes you feel so much better. And you'll see why. I think we're pretty much good on time, so I can get started and get into what an empath is. Basically, an empath is a feeler. It's a person who deeply feels emotions from all around them. And so and I'm going to break that down for you a little bit more, but basically, like you know, wherever you work, even at your home, out in public, going to a mall, going to a public place, you walk around and you're just on. Your sensitivities, I should say, are on. And if you're an empath, you have some subtle sensitivities that other people may not have. I do believe on some level everyone is empathic, but I do think that it shows up more strongly in some people. Okay, just like maybe someone who practices piano, you know, they may be more inclined for that. So if you're empath, then you will feel things on a much stronger level all around you, and you'll feel them in ways that are a little bit different than how other people feel them. The most significant way that most people that are empaths feel things is as anxiety. And that's generally when people come to me and they're freaking out all the time. They're losing sleep, they're moody, they're highly emotional. They're now at the point where they're shutting themselves down and closing themselves off, and they just want to exist in a cave, within their house or their home, wherever they live. And they've reached that point generally, and they just don't know how to manage, what they're feeling. And they hope that at some point that will get cured. And I'm here to tell you, it's not ever going to be cured. It's not something that you cure, okay? And I do believe, now I always have to give this disclaimer, I'm not a medical professional. If you feel highly anxious and frustrated and depressed, or anything, physical things going on with you, and you need to go see a licensed medical person, then please go do that, because I'm not a licensed doctor, okay? But I do believe that Western medicine does not understand this fully, and that they do generalize, and they just lump everyone into these categories. And then people who maybe are empathic and really just need the tools to learn how to exist in their world, they're lumped into these categories with people that have some serious things going on, like PTSD and those sort of things. And I do believe that those stronger things that emerge, in our medical world are a result of the anxiety getting to be too much for people. That's my theory. I haven't tested it out yet. I'm hoping, that there are researchers out there, scientists out there that can take this to that level and find that out. But that's my belief, that, it's because people get so anxious, so overwhelmed. It does lead to depression. It does lead to, people wanting to just close themselves off. And then, things turn into, they manifest into the physical body. And then you get things like, depression, that leads to suicide, and you get PTSD, where people have to be on medications. And, so I do think that if we were able to catch, the symptoms early, like if people have anxiety and they were able to be assessed in a certain way and evaluated, not only from a medical, professional, but maybe from a spiritual standpoint. Some people who are highly trained, and working with empathic energy, could simply tell them, yes, you're an empath, and there are ways to help you, to mitigate this. So if you are at that point where you're in despair over this, then yes, go seek out medical help from a doctor or a therapist, somebody who can help you out, if you're at that point. But I want to go over some signs that may be revealing to you about whether you're an empath or not. I want to go over those first, and then, of course, answer questions if you guys have any questions, and then we'll do some energy healing for you as well. And energy healing, the nice thing about it, I always say this, is that whether you need to go see a doctor or not, energy healing is just a very positive thing that you can do for yourself, even if you're on medication. It's very gentle and soothing, and it allows for you to reconnect to your true self and to connect to a higher source. And it allows energy to reset. So if you do have any anxiety, you know, because you're an empath, if you do have anything starting to show up as symptoms and you're just feeling like this is too much, then an energy healing session for yourself is a very wonderful, loving thing to do. And it's just a way of showing love to yourself. You can do this with others. So if you see somebody struggling with this, always ask them, don't just do it to them, okay? You can offer it to them, or you can do this for yourself. So this is something that you can take with you after you learn it, and you can work with it on your own, and you can play with it, you know, so do what feels right to you. I'm going to give you an example tonight. I do this, I do these sessions with people all the time. I mix them up depending on who it is I'm working on, and I also intuit what to do in the moment. So I'm becoming a channel, I'm allowing information to come through, and then I'm just doing what feels right in the moment. So do that for yourself as well, okay? So just use your intuition on that. And that's a nice way of talking to your true self and just saying, I'm sending you some love. You know I've been neglecting you for a while and it's time, you know, for me to send you some love. So I'm going to go ahead and check the questions and just see if anybody has any questions so far. I'm not seeing anything coming in yet. Okay, so to get to the signs of what may be revealing to you whether you're an empath or not, I'm going to give you guys like 10 signs, okay? So we're just going to keep it simple. There are probably hundreds, but I'm just going to give you 10, all right? And in each of those, there will be many little things that I'll point out. So I'm not going to go into too much detail. I'm going to try to keep it simple so that we can get to the energy healing session, okay? But the first sign of being an empath would be that you're highly creative. Empaths just tend to be natural born. They have an imagination. They're just creative individuals. So they'll be dancers, singers, artists of some type, actors, chefs. You know, they pretty much just like to bring through like divine guidance and share it with the world. That is very common for an empath, and an empath will be happy if they are tapping into that creative side. Okay, so these are key things to listen for. If you're an empath and you've been struggling, and you kind of have this inner knowing, like, yeah, I'm hearing these things and they sound like me. Also pay attention to, are you doing these things? You know, like, are you, if you know you're an empath and with that comes creativity, are you tapping into your creative side, you know, or have you been neglecting it? If you're neglecting that side of you, that will show up as anxiety for an empath. Okay, you'll start to feel kind of like, and you'll feel sad. You just feel sad because you're like, I never have time, you know, all the things that we say. But you want to make sure if you feel an urge to do something creative and you can't because you're at work, tell yourself, okay, I felt that. And then take a small action, you know, like after work, if you know you got some impulse to paint or do something creative, after work, stop by a creative store like Michael's or something and just walk around and maybe even, you know, buy something that you know will be that next step. You know, if you're a painter, buy a canvas or something like that, okay? So they tend to be highly creative. The second one, they have an inner knowing. So do you find yourself, like, say when you're walking into a public place, you just have this sense that something is up, you know, like you go to work and you're like, ugh, you know, something doesn't feel right here. And okay, this is a really key thing for you guys. This is something I see very commonly happen for empaths. They struggle with it like crazy. They constantly feel things, and when they feel bad, they often think that it's them. They think that it's something they did, or something going on with them. And 9 times out of 10, it's the outer environment. It's actually something on the outer environment that's off, and the empath is bringing that energy into them and processing it inside of them. And so they're actually feeling what is off, okay? Because everything is energy, you guys. Remember this. I mean, everything is energy. This is how we exist. You know, we can't see it, but on the smallest level, I'm holding millions upon millions of little things, you know, that is holding this space here. And we're feeling that, you know, as an empath, you're feeling that, you know. So these are vibrations that are constantly around you. And that's something, that's the second thing, is that they have an inner knowing. So when you're walking around, you probably are feeling things. And you just have this knowing. Now, the key for an empath in that one is to trust it, okay? So if you're feeling it, acknowledge it. You know, be okay with if in that moment something's agitating you or frustrating you, acknowledge it, at least to yourself. You don't have to say anything to the outside world just yet. You know, sometimes at some point you do have to address it, you know, on the outside world, but at least acknowledge it within you, you know, that, okay, body, you're telling me something, there's something not quite right here. And acknowledge it as that it could be on the outside world, okay? Don't just automatically, you know, take it upon you, you know, that it's you going through it, all right? So the third thing is that empaths tend to be peacekeepers. They tend to be like the mediators, okay? So you generally don't like conflict. You just can't stand it. If people start creating drama or wanting to fight or wanting to get in your face about something, you're just like, oh God, no, I can't do this. You know, empaths tend to want to run, you know, in those situations. If you're an empowered empath, you know how to be the mediator, you know how to hold space. And that's something that I teach when I work with people, is about, you know, letting the circus happen around you, okay? And knowing when to say, not my circus. I'm not getting involved in that. So that's an empowerment tool, okay, for you as an empath. So know that as a peacekeeper, people are going to be coming to you also. Like, you may naturally draw conflict to you because people think that you can handle it, all right? So if you're not an empowered empath, try your best to work towards that, because that is one of your greatest skill sets, actually, and you may not even know it. But people that that need to work through conflict are drawn to you. All right, so just know that you may feel like it's always volatile around you, but that's not you doing that. Okay, that is the outside world, and they're drawn to you for that. So again, look at all of these things, and you can even see possible career choices in all of these things. You know, like the first one being creative, you could be an artist or a dancer, a singer, something. The second one, having an inner knowing, you could be a psychic, I mean, or a clairvoyant, someone who's able to, you know, help people decipher messages that are coming to them. The third one being a peacekeeper, you could be a mediator, you know, or some kind of lawyer, something that helps people with really difficult situations. You know, so again, there's careers even, you know, in all of these that you can look at. And the key is being empowered in them, all right? So also under the peacekeeper one, I want to talk about that, you know, you don't like conflict, and within that is violence, okay? And so as an empath, you don't like violence. You probably don't really like movies that are too violent. You might be okay with ones that are semi like conflict oriented, where there's something being resolved because you're like, yay, you know, but the ones that are just gory and just go on with gore for no good reason, you probably don't feel really well with those kinds of movies. The news even probably frustrates you because the news tends to be highly negative, right? And they tend to show, you know, all this drama going on all of the time. And one of the things about, which we're going to get into, one of the top 10 is that empaths like to be fixers. So when you're watching the news, you're probably yelling at the TV or at the news a lot because you're like, why don't they just do this? You know, you're like the peacekeeper. You're the one going, I know what to do. Just do this, you know? So again, another career possibility, maybe being in politics or something like that, where, you know, you can sway, you know, people into good decisions, like, you know, peaceful decisions. All right. So the fourth one is a love for nature and animals. This is probably my favorite one. You know, ever since I was little, I was just drawn to nature and to animals. But as an empath, you just have this sensitive side to you, and nature is your grounding place. Okay, so you probably have a love for the outdoors. It's because the outdoors is like a neutral environment, and it's also a place where you can just observe. And it tends to be peaceful, okay? Sometimes it's not, right? But I'm talking about real nature, you know, like nice big parks or wide open spaces, or being on adventures where it's very, very peaceful out. Those tend to be your favorite places probably, as well as animals, having a kindred, kind of just a connection with animals, maybe even being able to sense them or have telepathic connections with them. So again, in that one, there are many careers, right, for being in the outdoors, everything from being like a forest ranger to working with animals, you know, of some sort. So there's many, many things there for people that are empaths. And the fifth one is that empaths tend to be, this is a hard one. I hate to admit it, but we tend to be moody and we tend to be hermits, okay? And that can be really hard for our spouses or for people that love us, that want to go out with us or be with us. You raise your hand if you've had those emotional outbursts that you're just like so embarrassed, you know, about having. That is an empath. An empath, your feelers are bringing everything in to you. And if you don't have a way of processing that in a very peaceful, calm way, of getting it out in some way, then you are going to have an outburst. And that is a drawback, you know, to being an empath. But on the other side of it, the reason that empaths do that is because they're very authentic. You know, they just can't lie. They show everything on their faces, and they show everything in their emotions. So that's the nice thing about it, is that, you know, when you're with your loved one, at least they know you're not, you know, in a happy place, or you are in a happy place, one or the other. But you also tend to be a hermit. So you probably, the energy, outside energies tend to become too much for you. And then you just feel like you want to be in a protected space and feel closed off, right, from the outside world. So the way to mitigate that, the key in that is to assess when you're starting to feel like that anxiety building, and then catch yourself and find a positive way to transfer the energy. And what I mean by transferring the energy, which we're going to get into a little bit later, but is grounding the energy in some way. So you would want to maybe go for a walk out in a park and walk, have your feet on the ground, or maybe go pet, some animals animals that you have at home, or go journal, get it out in writing, or dance, go dancing, do something that gets the energy moving in a positive way, as opposed to, and clears the energy, as opposed to keeping it rolling inside of you and kind of stagnant inside of you. Okay. And then the sixth one is empaths tend to daydream very easily. And this is a great thing because it just goes with, being creative and having a high imagination. But basically, they enjoy activities where they can't. Okay, the way to put this is, if they're not enjoying an activity, they are going to daydream. Okay, so if you are really not enjoying something that you've kind of pushed yourself to go do, you may end up checking out, all right, as an empath. Like, you may just be like, this really isn't for me. I'm not really liking this. And again, that goes with being authentic, right? And in the moment. And, but, that can also be read by other people as like, you're aloof, or you're not quite there. And you're probably not doing it to be mean, it's happening subconsciously, but it can be offensive, to people sometimes. Now, the good in that is that to be able to do that means you're checking into an alternate state. You're going into a more creative state in a place of like imagination. So it's just, and the key in this one is just being authentic to your true self, and trying to change it up. So if you've pushed yourself to go do something, then you may want to shorten the length of time, say, okay, I went and I did it and I'm not feeling it now. So you could just kind of say, I'm getting kind of tired, I'm going to head back, and then go recharge yourself, or get yourself into that state of creativity, to recharge yourself. All right. So the seventh one is that empaths are free spirits. So they tend to be people that just don't like rules, and they don't like routines. And if things become too routine, it becomes too monotonous, for them. So you probably tend to like to freely express yourself and feel okay with that. And, being around friends who appreciate that in you, and family who appreciates that in you, people who don't judge you, for being that way. Being a free spirit, sometimes people judge it as, they're just never focused, or they're never, there's a million things that people could say about that. But no, to appreciate someone who's a free spirit, they tend to love adventure. So they'll be the ones that are very creative about new things to try. They tend to love travel a ton, so they like going places and adventuring around, and they just like their freedom. They like to be able to go do what they want, as they feel inclined. And so then the eighth one is, as an empath, you probably like all kinds of music. So that is a sure sign. If you're an empath, you probably are very eclectic about your musical choices. And music is probably kind of important to you, actually, because to empaths, they sometimes receive their messages through music. So they'll hear something on the radio and they'll be like, that's what I was supposed to hear today. Or they will be sensitive to the type of music. So if, say, they're just going through a breakup and then something plays on the radio that's like, I miss you so much, something like that, they're just going to be like, oh my God, turn that off. Like it will be too much to them. Whereas with people who aren't empathic, anything could be playing on the radio and that person would just be singing along to it and not even realize, So empaths tend to have a higher sense of awareness. And so that's why this music, whatever's coming through will have this stronger message for them. Okay. And then the ninth one is that empaths tend to be like magnets. And we did talk about this a little bit earlier, but I call it like being a bug light. Okay, we tend to attract people that need anything. They need fixing, they need solutions, they need, to be listened to, whatever it might be. We're like that bright light that the bugs are attracted to, okay? And so you just have to get used to being that magnet. And again, in this, it's learning to become empowered with that. And a technique for that is to know when to say no to people, to really understand your boundaries with people and be okay with saying no when you need to say no. And doing small things to ensure that your spirit feels okay also, like my phone, I don't have my phone set to ring or ding. Okay, I have my phone on buzz and it doesn't notify me of anything. I look at my phone when I need to look at my phone, and that's because I need that space, right? So as being an empath, know how to do that for yourself. Like find ways to create that space for yourself, so that it's like a boundary. You're saying, this is my boundary, and people are fine with it. Nobody ever complains, about it, because I'm pretty good about. I do check my phone, but sometimes I just kind of hold it off. So again, just understand that you might be a magnet, okay? And then the 10th one is that we tend to want to solve world problems. So anytime there's, something going on in the world, and this kind of goes with the magnet one, right? We draw in, those people that are in conflict, but we tend to be the ones that actually do know how to solve the problems. So, and that's because empaths tend to be really good with energy, feeling when energy feels off. And then because it feels off, an empath will naturally want the energy to feel better. And so they'll have that inclination, because things feel so distorted and off, they will have that natural inclination to want to correct the energy in some way. So they tend, and because, again, they're so highly creative, this blends in all these things so well together. They tend to be highly creative. They feel the energy. All these things help with fixing or creating solutions for world problems. Okay. So those are the top 10 things, like, that I just wanted to share that, could signify that you're an empath. I'm going to check the questions and see if you guys have anything, any questions that are coming to you, anything that's coming up. And, if you are an empath, a lot of people think of it as a curse. I have a lot of people that come to me, and the first time they see me, they just feel like a victim to this thing. They don't understand it. It feels too hard. And something that, once I tell them, like, this is not something that you're really going to be able to say cure, they kind of have like a, oh no, kind of, reaction at first. But then it settles in with them and they start to realize, like, oh, this This is something that's always it's always been with me. It's something that's always going to be with me. And then I relate to them the gift in this, that this is a part of your true self. This is a part of who you really are. It's a gift that's emerging, even more in you. And the more that you become aware of it, the more, the better it gets, okay? Because you just start to understand it more and you get to see how to work with it more. And you also understand the benefits and how to help others with it more, which is probably my favorite thing, about being an empath. So that tends to be the timeline for people with being an empath. The first thing that happens is they tend to feel like a victim to it. And then they start to understand, that, and the victim part of it is because you're bringing in the energy into yourself, processing it within you, and you feel like off because you're like, I don't know what the heck's going on, with me. So that's the victim part of it. But then once people understand, when I tell them, like, you're an empath, you're feeling energy, and the reason that you came here was to process that energy and help to correct, what's wrong in the environment. You're actually a healer. That's really what being an empath is knowing how to heal things in a creative way. And then they're like, oh, okay, so that tends to be the timeline with being an empath. So then at some point you start to feel empowered about being an empath, and you understand that there are things that you can do, to help others, to help the environment, to help the world. And when you put that into play, it immediately starts to heal all this other stuff in you. You don't take on that energy in that way anymore, of that it feels bad to you. You start to understand that it's just information, that's coming to you. So I want to give you guys a couple of simple ways to nurture yourself, and then we're going to do a quick meditation energy healing session to help reset you. But basically, these are things that I have found to help me. And if you guys have any ideas of things that help you, please put them in the chat or in the comments, or email them to me, and I'd be happy to add them to the chat. Or also, I'm going to be doing an article on this as well, and I'll add them in that article. But these are just quick things. So the first one I already mentioned is being in nature. So if you're feeling off because, maybe the outside world is becoming too much, just take a little hike in nature, or go for a little walk in nature. Find a park, go walk with your bare feet, and just reset yourself. Or go put your feet in like a running creek, or something like that. Of course, be careful, going out into nature, but, just be there, be in a peaceful place with it. Even lay down. That's one of my favorite things to do at the beach or by a creek, is to get a towel and just lay down on the ground with your back actually on the ground. You can do this also sitting by a tree. You can put your back up against a tree, and it will help to reset your energy. The second thing is what we're going to do tonight, which is energy healing. You can do chakra cleansing also. So working with all of the chakras, the main chakras in the energy body, or doing energy healing. That's a great, quick way to reset your energy. The third one, which I mentioned earlier, is to learn to say no. So that's very, very empowering. If you're struggling, if you're overgiving, if you're constantly, you're constantly wanting to fix things for people, remember, sometimes it's okay to allow people to go through what they're going through, and only offer your help if it really is going to help. If it's really something that will help them. So you'll learn that with time. But that's a big one, is being able to say no. That will really help you. And then the fourth one is just to get into water. I mentioned putting your feet in water, but actually submerging yourself in water is really wonderful. Some places have like these float places now where you go in and they put you in this float bath and you just sit there, and sometimes they play peaceful music. But of course you can take a bath at home too, or go to a nearby pool, go to the ocean, go for a swim, but try to totally submerge yourself, in the water. A thing that I love is salt baths. So I will use Epsom salt with the pink salt and some baking soda. That's the mix that I use. And just pour all of that into your bath, a nice warm bath, and just totally submerge, even your head, your hair, and everything, and get the whole body cleansed. All right, and you will feel so much better after taking that dip in water. Okay. So those were the things that I wanted to go over in terms of being an empath. And now I want to just do a quick energy healing for you guys. So this is something that you can use in the future on your own. You can always revisit this and just fast forward and click to this point in the video and just repeat this meditation if you like, even. Okay. But it shouldn't be too complicated. It's just going to be some nice breathing and connecting. So go ahead and close your eyes and just take a nice deep breath in and feel the breath going through the nose down into the chest. And then breathe it all out, relaxing and releasing everything from your day. Becoming highly aware of your breath, feeling it on the tip of your nose, feeling how cold the air is as it rushes in and goes down into your chest. Feeling your chest expand as you take each deep breath in. And on the next breath, breathe in deeply, bringing the breath all the way down to the belly. Feeling your belly expand and contract, becoming aware of your belly and how it's moving. Feeling your body relax. Feeling your shoulders drop. Feeling the muscles in your arms relax. If you feel any tension in your legs, just allow that tension to melt away. Feeling yourself get relaxed even more. Feeling your breath get more deep and feeling the breaths get longer. Continuing to breathe in through the nose. And you can either breathe out through your mouth or through your nose, lengthening the breath. Feeling all of your energy purge out and down through your legs. Letting go of all of your tension from your day. Releasing all of the energies that you've picked up from your day, being an empath. You did a good job picking up all of that energy, understanding it today, time to release all of that energy and just let it go. As you breathe in, feel your breath go into your heart space. Feel it purify your heart space, helping it to shake loose anything that might be hanging on in your heart space. Your heart is where you do all of your hard work as an empath, processing everything. Take nice deep breaths in and feel that energy going into your heart. Feeling it move about in your chest area, breaking all of that energy free. And then feeling it wash away, moving down your legs and into the earth, going down deep into the core of the earth, where it will be reset and recycled. Clearing away all of that funky energy from the day, releasing any cords from anybody you might have met, releasing any cords from any past relationships, people that may have contacted you. Each time you're breathing in, feeling those connections breaking free and sending them down your legs, into the earth, down into the core of the earth. And your body should start to feel very relaxed from this. You can feel your feet relax, your toes. Check in with your body, from your head down to your feet. And just see if you feel any residual tension, anything that might be hanging on anywhere. Check the back area, the upper back, the shoulders, the chest. Each time you're breathing in, feeling all of your muscles relax, feeling everything unwind from you, and sending it down into the core of the earth. And now I'm hearing for you to release any obligations, any feelings of feeling obligated towards others, towards family, towards friends, at work. Just for this moment, this current present moment, release any obligation, feeling yourself cleared from them. Just in this present moment. I'm also feeling accommodating. If you feel like you've been accommodating towards others, feel that energy unwinding from you now. And feel it releasing down your legs and into the earth. I'm hearing also claim playing it safe and playing by the rules. So just say those things in your mind, playing it safe and playing by the rules. Take a nice deep breath in, hearing those things in your body, allowing them to break free in this moment, playing it safe and playing by the rules. Feeling them unwind from you, go down your legs and into here, releasing them. And finally, I'm hearing for us to clear any family bonds, doing a reset, a soft reset in this moment, just to clear any family bonds. You can even sense in your body in this moment, maybe an area of your body lighting up as you focus on family bonds. See if you can just take a moment to sense the energy in your own body. What may be tied in your own body to family bonds. This is a fun way of becoming aware of the energy. And as you feel it, get really close to it. Take a nice deep breath in. Feel that breath go right to that spot. Feel it purge and break that spot free. And feel that energy dissolve. Release from you. Going down your legs and into here. And now, as you breathe in, picture a light above you, a light all around you. And as you breathe in, feel that light coming into your body, going right into your heart space, going all to those places where the energy dissolved. Breathing deeply, and merging with that light. Feeling your cells and your body connect with the light. You should start to feel charged up, more positive, more happy. Feeling a smile come over your face as the energy in your body goes back to its most pure state, in alignment, purified and clear. Now take a few deep breaths in this state and notice how your body feels. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes, wiggle your fingers and your toes, and come back. And I'm smiling. You should be feeling really good at this point, reset and clear. I feel as light as a feather right now. So you guys, thank you so much for joining me for this event, this energy healing for empaths. I hope that you gain something from this and that you're able to walk into the world now, tomorrow, feeling more empowered and not feeling like a victim to this gift that you have. This is something that you came to Earth as a soul, being an empath, and I want you to enjoy it. I want you to live out the rest of your life feeling empowered and connected and getting your messages. That's all that's coming to you. That's all, everything that you're feeling, they're just messages. It's just information. Just remember that, okay? If you have to write that on a sticky note and put it somewhere, just write the words, it's just information, okay? So you realize that what's coming to you is just information and it's just there to help you. So thank you so much once again for joining me for this event. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. This event will always be up online for free. So you can turn to it at any time. You can revisit it whenever you need. And like I said, if you have questions, just feel free to email me at discoveryourenergy@yahoo.com. And once again, my name is Mandy Gatlin. Thanks so much for joining me. Good night.